I just want to say real quick before we get to the main part of the video that I forgot to mention in the part that you're about to see is that the water you're supposed to use is distilled water. It's the best for the frogs, and what I just did was I bought a little mister from I think it was Home Depot or something like that. You can do anything to do them, but distilled water only, and those should be good. Alright, enjoy the real part of this video. Hey there, YouTubers. So today I had a request on doing a little more in-depth video on my poison dart frogs, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm just going to be talking about the temperatures you should have them at, the UVB, feeding them, and all that other good stuff. So first, start off with my Dendrobates leucomelas. This tank, they're pretty much the exact same tanks. They're both 10-gallon aquariums. The minimum or the maximum you should really have in a 10-gallon is probably about 2. Depending on the type of species that you have, some species are able to go in higher numbers in a smaller area. But right now I just have 1 and 1. Their cages should be anywhere from 70 to 80 really. And as you can see, this one right now, about the air temperature is like 76, and it's open, so it's going to keep dropping a little bit here. But what I have going on here, both tanks are all live. The substrate, I have it's about 50% sphagnum peat moss and peat moss. This layer right here, underneath, I just have a layer of gravel. It's just about there. It's just a little shorter. And then a layer in between, so as you can see right there, you can kind of see the wire. It's not wire, but it's like plasticky, so that it keeps all this stuff from seeping into the gravel when you're wetting it. Which brings me to the other thing of it needs to be about, closest to 90% humidity is better. I spray mine daily, which is why it gets kind of condensated on the side. I do need to re-wipe it and to get the little algae or /moss, whatever the heck it is, off. But I spray mine all the time, so it's always got condensation in there. So that's not a problem for me. But the other thing about the substrate is just, that's pretty much it, actually, to be honest with you. And then other than that, I have rocks that I got from outside, and then moss as well. I talked a little bit in the last video, but I'll tell you a little more now. To get the outdoor rocks and moss sterile, what you got to do is put it in really hot water for, a few minutes or so would be good, and then just let it cool off, and then you can set them in, put them right into the tank, and they'll do fine. And as you can tell, the moss is growing up on top of the coconut hide there, and it's taking let me zoom out a little. It's taken pretty well. The other cage, the moss in the other cage took a lot better than this one, but this one's still doing good. I have another rock back there. Should have at least one place that they can go in and hide, which is why I have the coconut husk, the coconut hide here. And then the plants, they can squeeze down into the little crevices, so I'll find them sleeping there often. But that's about it. As far as the plants I have, I'm not sure on this name here. I know a lot of people use bromeliads. I was not able to get bromeliads when I was planting this tank. I know I can get them at the shows. I've seen them at the last few. I'm not sure if I'm going to get some. Maybe if I do a little, a little fancier, I guess you could say, cage for them, I'd probably do that. But as of now, I just have the anonymous plant there, which is kind of like a bromeliad, and then Pathos. There are many other plants that you can use for these guys. Pretty much any plant, really, that likes high humidity and a lot of water. But this is the Dendrobates leucomelas cage. While I'm finishing up the last little bit of the video, I suppose I'll try and show you the P. vittatus. See if he's even out right now, though. So that pretty much covers the inside of the cage, with the humidity, the temperatures, what you got to do to sterilize the things that you have, and then also the substrate and all. And again, it's 50% sphagnum peat moss and 50% peat moss. Make sure there's no like fertilizers in it. Obviously they can harm the dart frogs as their skin are very, very thin, and they can obviously get sick pretty easily. Which brings me to handling. You're really not supposed to handle dart frogs. If you have to take them out of the cage for like replanting purposes or changing the layout at all, I would highly suggest wetting your hands very well and just keeping them wet for when you actually handle the frogs, and make it as limited as possible. Just try and grab them, put them right into their container, and go from there. Because you really shouldn't be handling these guys. They are not poisonous in captivity. They are only poisonous in the wild because of what they eat. It's a type of beetle. And even if you were to take them out of the wild, about a month and a half or so, they should have all of their toxins out of them, and you should be fine. But again, shouldn't really be handling them anyway. The same thing with this guy. I just have the Pathos and the Anonymous plant, and then the one hide there, a bunch of rocks and moss as well. As far as the lighting goes, turn this one off real quick. I just have one of these bulbs in it. I'm not quite sure exactly on what size it is. I believe it was a 75 watt bulb. It keeps the temperature fine, and then also it being fluorescent, it's 75 in here after having it open for a little bit. So it'll also help the plants grow, and it helps the coloration of the frogs as well a little bit. One thing that really helps me is the guy that I bought them from, Keith Tanis. I know I've already talked to you guys. He gives a brochure, and I happened to pick one up at a show sometime last year. But this is a little brochure. That's his company name, just his catalog information. I am not sponsored by him in any way. If any of you are wondering, this is just who I enjoy going to because he's a great guy. These are all the different dart frog species that he had as of 2012. Some package deals that you can do with him. Again, it shows all this is going to be on his website as well. It teaches you, well, you can also buy tanks. It also talks about how to culture fruit flies, and also the dart frog care, anywhere from the eggs all the way up to adulthood right there. As you can see, maintain 72 to 80, or 72 to 78, and then 90% humidity. False bottom aquarium and heater is a convenient way to maintain both temperature and humidity, especially during the winter months. Oh, and then also feeding. It's a good thing I looked at this. I almost forgot to talk to you about feeding. You know it's the fruit flies, but I feed my frogs. I try to feed them every single day. Try to do it every morning. It's supposed to do about 5 days or so, but I try and do it every day. I shoot for every day. That way, if I do miss a day or two, that won't be, I won't really change them in any way. And they will be able to eat anywhere. They'll be able to eat anywhere between 15 to about 30 flies in one feeding each, depending on how big your frogs are and their appetite, obviously. But that's about the general amount that they'll be eating. And now, obviously, it's kind of hard to count them when they are in the container. But, I mean, after you do it a few times, you'll kind of start to understand how much they will eat at a time. It's better to do a little, I prefer doing almost a little less. That way, the fruit flies can get out. They get out all the time. That's why I bought this plant here. I'll probably be getting a few more of them, just because they do get out. And if you're feeding them all the time, like every day, a little under, like around 20 or so, really won't hurt them because they'll continuously eat. And as you can see, I still have a ton jumping around, and I fed them this morning. What I do with the mixture right here, it's a 50-50 mix between Herptovite and calcium, which is what I have here. There's my Herptovite that I use. I just measured it off and then put it into this container here. But it should be a 50-50 for them. And just coat them every time they feed. It's going to help, obviously, give them vitamins and help their bone growth and all. So, yeah, I believe that's going to cover everything with the tanks. If you still have any questions for me on how I care for my dart frogs and just little tips and stuff like that, definitely feel free to let me know. Obviously, not every video is going to be perfect. I may have missed a couple things, so definitely just leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get back to them as soon as I can for you guys. Hope this helped you out, and stay tuned for the next video. Later, guys.